Warning, this episode of Film Feeder contains heavy spoilers for the film at its centre. So for those who don't want to know anything beforehand, then come back once you've had a chance to see it. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Film Feeder podcast. I'm your film chef extraordinaire, Jack Martin, coming to you from a slightly different location than usual.
I told you before, mate, stop breaking into my house to film your stupid podcast.
Film Feeder! So, I've just avoided near death, and it turns out the only thing that's keeping me alive right now is offering my very best friend Matt here free tickets to see Deadpool and Wolverine. That's what this episode is going to be all about. We're going to be talking about Marvel's latest blockbuster. We're going to be talking about all the things that happen in it, with all the themes that are going on, and just why this film is a celebration of a lot of Marvel stuff. And we're both Marvel fans, wouldn't you say so, Matt?
Yeah, I'd say so. Very excited. Grew up with the original Hugh Jackman X-Men, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films. For those listening, Jack's wearing Deadpool red, I'm wearing Wolverine yellow. Very much looking forward to seeing this film.
Yeah, we're colour coding today specifically. So this is not my first showing. It is Matt's first showing. I've seen this movie a couple of times, so I have a bit more of an idea of what to expect. But we're just about to head out now to see the film. And when we come back in just a few moments, we will have just seen the film and we will be sharing our thoughts on it. So, yeah, you want to go see a film?
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go. All right, we'll see you one movie later.
One movie later.
And we're back. So we have just got back from seeing Deadpool and Wolverine. My third time seeing it.
My first time seeing it.
Your first time. There's nothing like your first time. So
really,
yeah, really, yeah. Your good time.
Really, you're going there first time?
Yeah, maybe I am. Well, this is what Deadpool would do.
Yeah, that's true.
This is true. So I think we should start off by giving our initial thoughts on the film. For me personally, seeing how this is my third time seeing it, I've had more time to articulate my thoughts, and yeah, I found this to be a very entertaining film. It's definitely a good fun ride, something that's been missing a lot from the MCU recently, I felt, is a sense of fun and liveliness, and I think Deadpool and Wolverine really brings it here. And I know it's far from perfect, and we'll certainly get into why momentarily, but I did find it very enjoyable. It's a lot of fun, and you can read my full review for it on the Film Feeder website at filmfeeder.co.uk, and you can also check out the video version, which is on my YouTube, TikTok, Instagram profiles, and the links are all in the description. So that's my thoughts on the film. Matt, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, just like, review over.
No,
Bye.
I really liked this film, really enjoyed it. Like how Avengers was an homage to the last 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Spider-Man No Way Home was a celebration of all the previous Spider-Man movies, from Sam Raimi's to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I feel like this film was the homage celebration of the last 20 years of comic book movies done by 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, now 20th Century Studios.
Now obviously under Disney, it's 20th Century Studios.
Yeah, because they didn't want to be associated with the whole Fox thing. I mean, I can't imagine why. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, Rupert Murdoch isn't that controversial a figure, is he?
Oh, no, he's a saint.
Definitely not,
Ugh.
yeah.
No, he's a putz. We hate him.
And while there are nitpicks with this film, they are nitpicks. I don't think it detracts from my overall enjoyment of this film anyway, and I'm sure you agree with me.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely things to criticise about the film. I mean, after all, that's my job as a film critic, to find out why a film does and doesn't work. And there's certainly things to be said about this film. But before we do, I think it's worthwhile getting into what we felt about the previous Deadpool films, because honestly, there's quite a bunch to say. I mean, starting off with that first film, looking back on its debut, early 2016, this film came at a time when superhero films, they were generally considered quite safe and very family friendly, and then along comes this very raunchy, very sweary superhero. Obviously, we've had things like that in the past. You know, the Blade films certainly had lots of violence and swearing and stuff. But I think,
And then you had other offshoot films like Kick-Ass as well. What was that one with Watchmen?
yeah, Watchmen. I mean, yeah, like there've been like adult superhero films off the bat over very, not just Marvel, DC, and other sorts of offshore comics. But I think there was something about Deadpool, the first one anyway, that really kind of turned it into something of a movement. Like, I remember seeing the first one in cinemas. I was at a press showing for it, and the energy in the room was spectacular. Everyone was just laughing their little heart out. It was such a great bit of fun, and I had a blast with that first film. It really is. There's a lot. There's so many great jokes with it. Ryan Reynolds just is Deadpool by this point.
Yeah, like how Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, how Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. Ryan Reynolds lives and breathes Deadpool.
Yeah, it pretty much, even in non-Marvel films, he just has that persona, and he's really adopted it as his screen identity. And but going back to that first Deadpool film, it was such a huge success. I mean, critics loved it, and audiences went really nuts for it. It grossed like over $100 million in its opening weekend alone, which was unheard of for an R-rated film in general at that point. And so obviously it did very well. And then the second film comes along, and it wasn't quite as well received. I think people had about the same opinions on it as they did the first one. It wasn't better or worse. It was just kind of there.
It didn't feel like an evolution of the first film. It felt like just a continuation of the same thing.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine. You know, if there's stuff to really get into. And I feel like Deadpool 2 is a fine film. I don't feel it's quite as fresh as the first one. I mean, few sequels rarely are, but I'd say Deadpool 2, out of this particular trilogy, I'd say Deadpool 2 is probably my least favourite, because, I mean, there's some great action in it, because obviously David Leitch directed it, and he's obviously done a lot of really good stuff. He co-directed the first John Wick, and he also recently did stuff like The Fall Guy and Bullet Train, so he's definitely knows his stuff when it comes to action cinema. I just felt that, for me, Deadpool 2 was just kind of lacking in, like, much of the stuff that made that first film so original at the time. But I mean, did you have any thoughts on Deadpool 2?
I wouldn't call Deadpool... I mean, I wouldn't say it's like my least favourite, because I enjoyed the second Deadpool film. Mm-hmm. I genuinely did. I think I agree with you that it's probably the weaker of all three Deadpool films, including this one.
Mm-hmm.
But there were still lots of really good things about Deadpool 2. It took the absolute piss out of the whole team up idea.
Yeah, the whole X-Force.
The whole
thing,
X-Force thing, with the fact that you've got to be part of a superhero team. Okay, let's create one and kill them off in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean that stuff is fun.
That was brilliant. And yeah, let's have Brad Pitt do a cameo as an invisible person who gets electrocuted.
Yeah, and just a regular guy named Peter, Rob Delaney. He's just no superpowers. He's just there.
Yeah, and he's a thing.
He's a thing. He's just there, and it's just kind of funny. He's in this film as well too, by the way. Like, Rob Delaney's back as Peter because obviously T.J. Miller turned out to be T.J. Miller.
T.J. Millard all over the place.
Yes.
And
Peter fills in for T.J. Miller, which is honestly not a bad replacement. Honestly, he's
weirdly, I think it's kind of an upgrade.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, Peter and Rob Delaney in general is just a lot more likable.
Peter gives the sort of the more heart and soul.
Yeah,
that was probably missing from the previous sort of buddy up of Deadpool and T.J. Miller's character. Yeah. Of being like bar friends. This is like work friends.
And rather than just like, him just slyly mentioning why TJ Miller's just not there, they just ignore him completely, which, to be fair, is probably what we all want to do right now.
I think that's probably the best way to deal with it, and just say, okay, at this point in Deadpool's life in the movie, he's moved on from where he was.
Yeah.
6 years ago now. Jesus,
six years
the last
since Deadpool 2,
film. Yeah.
And honestly, that's saying something when even Deadpool doesn't mention T.J. Miller's absence. You know something's fucked up right there.
Yes, definitely. Because there was probably so many opportunities that they could have made jokes, but I think it was probably best that they didn't. Because from the sounds of it, they think. I mean, stuff that T.J. Miller's done, we won't discuss. Cause
because it's.
I don't think either of us know the whole history and story behind everything that he's done.
But it's bad enough so that he's not in this movie.
Yeah, I think it's probably best that you play with the cards that are dealt to you. Mm-hmm. And the cards that you've got are very, very strong.
Yeah, and the cards that Deadpool and Wolverine has, honestly, are quite strong. I mean, there are a lot of strengths to this film, I feel like. Unlike the other Deadpool films, because they are, have fairly low stakes. I mean, they're not about saving the world or anything. They're more, much more personal missions. Like, in the first one, he's setting out to get his girlfriend back and maybe, fix his face and all that. And then in the second one, he's protecting a kid from Cable's wrath. And then in this one, there are much bigger stakes. He's technically saving his universe. But
so I think before we go any further into this, we should probably just make clear we are going to be talking spoilers.
Yes.
In this podcast.
Yeah.
It's going to be spoiler heavy.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you have not seen Deadpool and Wolverine by
then what the hell are you doing? Go and watch it.
I know, right? The movie's been out for a couple of years. It's been all over the internet, so I'm not sure why you're watching this one. I mean, there was even a spoiler warning right at the beginning of this review. You should have seen that coming.
Yes.
But
go and see it.
Go and see it. And you're back. Okay.
We'll just give you a couple of minutes just to watch the film. And you're back in the room.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah, pretty good, right? But going back to what we were saying about, the other films having fairly low stakes, and in this one, they're certainly raised. He is saving his universe from basically being mercy killed by Mr. Paradox, who's Matthew McFadden. But there are bigger stakes, but it still stays true to what Deadpool is. He has a much smaller worldview. He's a very, he knows exactly what matters to him, all the people around him, his friends, from Colossus to Negasonic Teenage Warhead to Vanessa. I mean, all of them, by the way, they have very limited roles in this film. They literally bookend the film. They just show up at the beginning and then at the end. So anyone expecting more Colossus or Vanessa in this one, especially after Vanessa pretty much got fridged in the opening of Deadpool 2, you're not going to get much of them here. So, I mean, but to be fair, you don't come to a Deadpool movie to see what Dopinder and stuff are up to. You just want to see Deadpool do his thing. So that makes sense. But anyway, the film really, I feel, stays true to that kind of smaller worldview. And then that's kind of elevated by the fact that Ryan Reynolds is in this film with Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. It's his 10th film now as Wolverine.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman, 10th film.
It's got to be, yeah.
Because let's do a roll call, shall we? The first 3 X-Men films.
Yeah.
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
First Class.
Yeah, that
cameo in that.
Yeah, go fuck yourself, yeah.
Days of Future Past.
Yes. No, The Wolverine. We forgot the
Wolverine, sorry.
Yeah.
The Wolverine. Days of Future Past. Logan.
No, X-Men Apocalypse.
Yes.
Another cameo.
X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah.
X-Men Apocalypse as well.
Showed up for that one scene.
That's 10 movies he's been in.
And Logan, of course.
Yeah, including Logan. That's 10 movies. So this is his 11th showing.
No, hold on. X-Men, X-Men 2, X-Men United. Sorry, we're just going all over the place here. Let's just call it an even 10. Let's
go with an even 10.
Yeah, we can't do math.
But you can't. I can't do math on the spot.
Maybe not. Either, but we have Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine in this together, and they are fantastic together. I mean, you see all the videos of them just out of character, just as themselves. They're kind of ribbing each other in
the true sort of BFF
bromance
ribbing,
kind of, yeah.
Trolling
kind of thing.
Not quite sort of Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Damon level of sort of
trolling
each other.
There's definitely a sense of playful rivalry between them,
yes.
And that is very much played up in Deadpool and Wolverine, because obviously these are two very different characters right off the bat. Like, obviously you have Deadpool being like his maniacal self, and then you have this Wolverine in particular who hails from a universe where, you know, he pretty much left his fellow X-Men to just be killed, hunted down.
Yes, that's a huge departure from like all the Wolverines we've seen before, who would always stand up for their friends. This is one who was more interested in getting a drink at the bar
than wearing that classic costume.
Than trying to save his friends and wearing the costume. But I love the fact that is the reason, that it's his atonement and penance for leaving his friends behind, is why he wears the classic costume.
And Hugh Jackman is so good in this. Like, he is, like, there's a scene in this film. You've probably seen it because it's all over the internet now. It's just him just absolutely tearing into Deadpool just from just with his words. Like, and it's like the parts of that I feel like kind of came from like leftovers from his performance in Prisoners, which I don't know if you've seen that film.
I've not seen that film.
Well, you've seen if you know that scene in this film, it's very similar wavelength. That he's just absolutely ferocious in Prisoners, and it's kind of scary, honestly. Hugh Jackman is fantastic in Prisoners, and he's really good in this one as well. He really kind of balances out the whole comedic stuff that Ryan Reynolds is doing, and it really works. I feel like it's just a perfect balance.
I think one of the biggest strengths is that you've got Ryan Reynolds, funny man. Hugh Jackman is absolutely the straight man in their sort of like two-man routine. This is a textbook buddy comedy.
Oh yeah, it's Midnight Run. It's Midnight Run in spandex.
Yes, spandex and, well, it's not leather because it's full comic book accurate costumes.
It really is. Yeah, no. So obviously, it goes without saying the best part of Deadpool and Wolverine is Deadpool and Wolverine. So, but it's not just them. I mean, there are lots of supporting players. I think we can get into them here. So,
well, I mean, we've got a roll call of all the cameos. Let me just have a quick read. No, we'll do that later.
Yeah. I mean, just to start off with, we have Jennifer Garner is back as Elektra.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes as Blade.
Snipes.
That was a surprise.
That was a genuine surprise because obviously, Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds have a bit of a negative history with each other.
For want of avoiding the vampire puns, there has talk of bad blood between them.
Yeah, there was on Blade Trinity. Yeah. Blade Trinity, wasn't
it? I think actually there's been
like Wesley Snipes did not.
I think there's been recent media interviews where Wesley's done like a complete 180 of his opinion on Ryan Reynolds because of this film.
Sure, and I think, but at the time, Blade Trinity was such a cursed production anyway. Like, it wasn't just Ryan Reynolds. Like, Wesley Snipes did not enjoy working with writer David Goyer, and it just completely tanked the film. Blade Trinity is known as a pretty bad movie anyway. But would
it surprise you if I said that is the only Blade film I've actually seen in full?
Really?
Yeah, Blade Trinity.
Oh, that's fine.
And weirdly, I don't think it's that bad.
Really? Okay. Well, maybe
I think the villain of Dracula is very weak, but
yeah,
Blade was good. Ryan Reynolds was somewhat entertaining as the.
Yeah,
the character in that
I think in comparison to the other two Blade movies, like the first one and then the Guillermo del Toro directed one, I think in comparison to those, it's a lot lamer. I think, and there's a lot of stupid stuff. It's a lot of people don't really particularly enjoy that film, and I can understand why, because it's a mess of a movie.
Would you say it has a lot of Goyerisms in it?
Yeah, kind of. I think the problems aren't just limited to David Goyer. There's a lot of stuff with Wesley Snipes as well. Like, really, a lot of stuff. He really Steven Seagal'd himself on that film, from what I hear.
Yeah, but we're not here to talk about Blade Trinity. No. We're here to talk about
all
the other cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, and including Channing Tatum, who finally gets to showcase himself as Gambit.
And I said this to you before we sat down to start recording again. I kind of want to see a proper Gambit film.
Yeah, me too. Now. I do too. Yeah.
If we don't get any more with Gambit with Channing Tatum as Gambit, I genuinely think that's a crime and a missed opportunity.
I do, because obviously Channing Tatum was originally going to be Gambit. There was an actual Gambit film planned, But then, for whatever reason, it all just fell apart, and then it just kind of got cancelled. I'm not sure if that had to do with the Fox being merged into Disney and all that stuff, but for whatever reason, it was developed, but it never got made. And I know Channing Tatum has been very open in interviews about just being kind of traumatized by the fact that, it didn't work out with Gambit. So it's really cool that he finally did get a chance to show what could have been hopefully a pretty cool movie.
Yes, he gave us a chance to show what if.
A what if, yes. Yeah. I could see this being a good what if episode, honestly. What if Gambit actually... Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, after the multiverse saga wraps up, I wouldn't be surprised if they go into a mutant saga next, and then they just give Gambit his own film.
It 100% feels like it's going that way. This is the first proper MCU film where mutants have been front and center.
Yeah.
You had Miss Marvel, the Disney Plus series, where they teased that Kamala Khan is a mutant. And
he had
as opposed to an Inhuman from her comic book.
Yeah, and then you had Namor from Black Panther.
Namor from Black Panther. You had Multiverse of Madness, Professor X appear in the Illuminati.
Yeah. So, but this is like the first one where...
Yeah, so I think very much the seeds are being sown for the next saga after the Multiverse saga.
Definitely, but... I mean, Channing Tatum's just one of many one of many cameos that actually do fit the narrative. They're not entirely there just for fan service. I mean, there's definitely fan service in this film, don't get me wrong, but him and Blade and Elektra, even X-23, who's Daphne Keane again, they do have like a reason for being there. It's not just like they just show up for 5 minutes and then that's it. They actually have a purpose.
It's not just a hello, I'm here to die. That's not the role they play.
Yeah, it's similar to how Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were in No Way Home. They just showed up at the last act, and they genuinely had reasons to be there.
Yeah, as opposed to John Krasinski in Multiverse of Madness, where he plays a Reed Richards that I would have loved to have seen more of him playing it, but obviously with the announcement of Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, that's the direction that they're going.
Yeah, I think John Krasinski was there in Multiverse of Madness just because it was a popular fan cast. I mean, hell, before they finalised the casting, I kind of wanted to see John Krasinski as Reed Richards, honestly. Yeah. And at least we got like 2 minutes of him before Scarlet Witch just tore into him.
Speaking of Fantastic Four, let's talk about the other cameo.
Oh, yes. How could we forget? A certain Chris Evans is back.
Yes, our Captain America comes onto stage. Deadpool looks really excited to finally meet an MCU hero, and he shouts "Flame on" and throws everyone out for a loop.
I mean, I'll be honest. When Chris Evans just first revealed himself, I did kind of see where that was going.
I was thinking in the back of my head as well as he's probably going to be Human Torch, isn't he?
And he was, and that was a nice little reveal there. Honestly, I mean, I have memories of watching like the 2005, 2007 Fantastic Four movies. I mean, they're not. I wouldn't say they're great, but they're fun. The first one, especially.
I'd call them comfort food.
Yeah, they're comforting, like the Tim Story ones. Yeah, not the Josh Trank one, which is not.
Yeah, I've not seen Fan Four Stick at all.
You're not missing anything.
Fair enough.
I'd say there are cameos that work in this film, and it does maintain the same level of humor and violence and sweariness of the other Deadpool movies. Like all that talk beforehand about this film being just as irreverent and gory and stuff, they were true. There's a lot of gore in this film. There's characters swearing up a storm. I think there's like over 100 uses of the word fuck in the whole thing, which is more than...
Oh, at least. I think I lost count of how many times.
Yeah, more than the past two films combined, honestly. Yeah. So they're really making up for lost time when it comes to the R rating.
Full use of the R rating.
Yeah.
And we can't... I mean, speaking of gratuitous violence, we have to talk about the opening sequence.
Yeah. There's with a lot of... All these Deadpool movies kind of have very memorable opening scenes. Like the first film had that really those funny poking fun at opening credits.
It was the first Deadpool film was like the freeze frame during the highway shootout.
Yeah, that were those funny credits like starring a British villain and a CGI character.
It was like music by some knob or something like that.
Yeah, and then the second one, it was just this kind of
it's like a Canadian homage to a James Bond opening.
Yeah,
credits.
exactly. Yeah, just complete with Celine Dion.
Yeah, full on.
And in this one, it's just full on carnage set to NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye.
Yes. And I'm certain people will have seen that on social media.
Or at least clips of it.
I think within 24 hours of Deadpool coming out, that was on the internet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that song actually got a resurgence in the charts because of this film. Kind of like how Murder on the Dance Floor kind of did when After Saltburn came out.
Yeah.
Or what was the other one? I can't remember. There was another instance. Oh yeah, Stranger Things, that Kate Bush song.
Yeah. Running up that hill.
Running up that hill, indeed. But who knows? Maybe the same thing will happen to NSYNC. You never know. Or even Madonna for Like a Prayer.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think Madonna had already clued in that this is going to be big. Let's get some money out of it.
Yeah, and apparently, and according to reports, like Madonna actually suggested something about that particular sequence. It takes place near the end where they're all fighting the Deadpool Corps.
Yeah, we probably should come onto those cameos a bit later.
But I'm just saying, like in general, the use of that song in that sequence. Apparently, Madonna herself, they approached her to say, "Hey, can we use this song for this part in the film?" And apparently, she suggested something that apparently made that whole sequence even better. According to interviews and stuff. So
yeah, I think the way it's written is that, can we use your song? So, you could use it like this. And if true, fantastic, well played, Madonna, because that song did not feel out of place at all during that entire fight sequence and the bit at the very end.
Well, Madonna has directed films before. I mean, quality of them aside, she does at least know her stuff when it comes to like pacing and suspense and all that. So yeah, that was good. And so the soundtrack is really good. I felt the effects in this movie were pretty good. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about like some Marvel films and the visual effects in there being pretty bad some of the time, and there's like visual effects artists don't have a lot of time to like go back and fully render them. But though I felt that the ones in here actually did kind of work.
Yeah, if you read the comments from sort of online CGI snobs is what I'm going to use for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like the keyboard warriors who go, the effects don't look realistic enough. You're watching a comic book movie.
Yeah, it's not.
They don't have to look 100% realistic. They have to look fun.
Yeah, and for the most part, the effects in Marvel movies look fun, and they certainly do here.
And certainly having your opening credit sequence with your director and your actors stenciled into the adamantium skeleton of a dead Hugh Jackman. That's funny. That's fun. That's creative.
Fun. Yeah, just how James Mangold would have wanted it.
Yes, I love the fact that all of the press leading up to this film and the production of this film, we are going to 100% respect the ending of Logan. Opening scene, they exhume a dead body and use him as a beat stick against loads of TVA agents.
Which, to be fair, that is kind of what Deadpool would do. Let's be honest.
That is totally a Deadpool move.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a Deadpool movie.
Yeah, no, so yeah, I mean, it has all of that stuff going for it, and that stuff really works really well. But I think it's important as well to address some of the things that don't work about this film, because as a film critic, it's my job personally to kind of dictate what is and isn't exactly a formidable element. In my personal opinion, it's all subjective. So if you have different opinions and stuff, I mean, no one should take that away from you. Why not
keep them to yourself?
No.
I'm joking.
I know. Well, if you have opinions that differ to ours, I mean, that's fantastic. And I'm really glad that you have your own individuality. You're not beholden to any particular opinions. So all these opinions that we say in this episode are entirely our own. So with that in mind, we do have to address some of the weaknesses. And for me, the big weakness of this film, honestly, it's its pacing. Like, I don't know how you felt during this, but when I saw this film for the first time, it felt like a lot of scenes went on for a bit longer than they should have, and it just kind of never made you exactly sure where exactly you were in the narrative.
I think I think sometimes you had some stop-start moments, mainly for like telling a joke. I think in a similar vein that there are some cameos that probably don't quite work. Like who am I thinking of here? Well, Henry Cavill is comes on the cameo as
Cavalrine.
as Wolverine.
The Cavalrine he's credited as.
He's genuinely credited as the Cavalry.
Yeah, it's right there in the credits. Look it up.
Well, I'll have to watch this podcast. Which is a shame because actually he played a really good Wolverine.
Yeah. I mean,
in the cameo, but he was there purely for a joke.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it'd be the same if they got like Daniel Radcliffe to do that a little bit, or even Taron Egerton, or all the other like rumored castings and stuff. But they just got Henry Cavill, and they even made fun of DC, kind of shafting him as soon as James Gunn took over. So I mean, so those kind of things work, but there's also a lot of times when the humor kind of falls a little flat. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't find this film as consistently funny as some of the other Deadpool films. Like, I think looking back at the first film, I remember that film was kind of like a laugh a minute for me. Like that, the jokes were just on that, and there's parts of the second film that are kind of not as consistent, but they are there. The humor is there. In this film, it's a bit all over the place.
I think I can probably back you up on that. I think the humor feels a little bit more constrained. Like, okay, we're working for Disney, or we're part of Feige's MCU. Can we push these buttons?
Yeah.
And they try to. There's a running joke where they're not allowed to use cocaine in the film.
Yeah.
So they find every other slang term that exists for cocaine.
Yeah.
And then you say, oh no, we can't use Bolivian dancing powder. Do you want to build a snowman? Yeah, but we can't.
Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff.
Some gags like that work because it's quite funny. But there's other gags, like I think the one that you hate the most.
I won't say I hate it.
Well, the one you dislike the most is the nice pool gag.
Yeah, because Ryan Reynolds shows up as another variant of Deadpool. He's just no mask all the time. It's just Ryan Reynolds in this very like samurai kind of armor, and the joke is that he's nice. He is, for lack of a better phrase,
Canadian.
Yes, which nothing against Canadians. Trust me, I'm heading out there myself next month, but. Yes. But I think the thing with Nice Pool is it's just one joke pretty much. It's just like he doesn't really swear. He's just kind of very polite and just kind of gee shucks, and just like I get it, but there's not really much you can do beyond that.
I can do a fourth wall joke too. The Proposal. That's not a joke. That's a movie title. You see what we mean?
Okay, well, yeah, but that joke kind of works because it's just kind of just the blandness of it all, and I think that's what they were going for here. Like it does feel like, what if Deadpool was fully under Disney's control? Like so. Yeah, I kind of get what they're going for, but the thing is, for me anyway, it just wasn't very funny. Like I felt like whenever Nice Pool showed up, it just kind of stopped the movie dead.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, we've got to deal with this nice prick for a few minutes now.
With his adorable Mary Poppins, aka Dogpool.
Yes, Dogpool.
Dogpool is adorable. Can we just say that?
Adorably freaky. It's one of those where the super long tongue kind of adds to the cuteness, but it's like there's a gap. There's like a gap in the cuteness.
Yeah. No, I mean he does steal a lot of scenes. I will admit, Dogpool is very adorable,
and I think they know that as well because it's like, well, let's stop what we're doing. I've got to go say hi and hug this dog. Oh wait, he's with Nice Pool. Shit.
Yeah, and I feel that's kind of like the whole thing is just the cute dog shows up and then Nice Pool shows up. It's just like, oh, you gave me one thing, but then you gave me this thing that doesn't work. So yeah, I feel like Nice Pool, it kind of summarizes the fact that the film is a bit kind of weak with its humor sometimes. Yeah, in comparison to the other ones.
Weirdly, I think that might also be due to the fact I think they had a considerably larger budget in this film than they did the last two films.
Yeah.
Deadpool didn't have that big a budget.
No.
So they could play around with the humour, like going, oh, there's only 2 people. It's as if the studios couldn't afford the rest of the X-Men for this.
Yeah, and
then Deadpool 2 is just like, okay, we're in the mansion, but you don't have like the cast there, and they're all in the background closing a door because they don't want to be part of this conversation.
And
more stuff like that would have been really funny.
Yeah. It's surprisingly there's not many
And what you get is
cameos from actual other like mutant characters from that Fox universe.
Yeah, and yeah, okay, fair enough. It's sort of there's a tribute to, this is like a great tribute to everything right with the Foxmen. Let's call them the Foxmen.
Yeah, the Foxmen. Yeah, I mean, it does pay tribute to that. There's even during the end credits, there's a nice little montage of like behind the scenes stuff for all the 20th Century Fox films, and that stuff is kind of cool. So it's nice that they pay tribute to that. But I mean, to be honest, it's probably for the best that there aren't that many more cameos from the Foxmen, because like there are some pretty gratuitous cameos, and not like the main ones like Blade and Elektra and Gambit. I mean, like kind of like background ones, and I feel that the most gratuitous ones are saved for the third act with the Deadpool core.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there's mainly just a bunch of people just wearing Deadpool masks and costumes from all sorts of universes. There's Lady Deadpool, who's Blake Lively.
Yeah, I will say, if you've ever gone to a comic book convention or an anime convention, you will have walked around the convention centre, and you will see someone dressed up as Deadpool, or you'll see someone dressed up as Deadpool with a scientist costume on. He's Back to the Future Deadpool, or he's Rick and Morty Deadpool. Oh yeah, that's what that scene felt like to me. It was like, suddenly the convention cosplayers have come in on march. Yeah. To wreck your shit. Oh, right, you're the real deal. Okay, we're gonna just stand there and panic while you like brutally murder us. Oh wait, we're Deadpool. We just get up again. Yeah, no, that's actually kind of a good way of putting it. It did feel like just one big Comic-Con meetup at the end. I mean, there's some, and there are cameos that didn't necessarily need to be cameos because they're all like in masks and stuff. Like, I mean, we mentioned Blake Lively as Lady Deadpool, and she has a few lines, but nothing to where like it's immediately obvious it's her, which it doesn't have to be. But even still, similarly, who played the cowboy Deadpool? It was Matthew McConaughey. It was Matthew McConaughey. It was Matthew I wasn't entirely sure until you just confirmed that to me. Yeah, like, and that sounds like Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, but he's not gone like all right. Let's because he's cowboy Deadpool, and then I think the floating skull one. I think that's Nathan Fillion. And then there's a couple ones where I think it's like Ryan Reynolds' kids. Like there's a baby one, and there's like a child Deadpool as well, isn't there? Yeah. There's one dressed in like the Welsh flag. I think that's maybe a reference to the Wrexham Football Club stuff. There's no maybe about it. That's definitely Wrexham linked. Yeah. I think I read somewhere that some players from Wrexham FC were actually in this film as either like cameos or just background Easter eggs. But the point I'm trying to make is, I mean, like these, it didn't need to be Matthew McConaughey voicing this particular Deadpool. It didn't need to necessarily even be Blake Lively. The fact is, they just brought them on just because, and I feel like there's a lot more that could have been done with. If you are going to use these kind of big name cameos, I mean, use them like you did with Wesley Snipes and Jennifer Garner and Channing Tatum, all these, and it just felt like it was there because it's fan service. And, what would have been really funny is if they took the masks off and none of them had like heavily scarred faces. It was just our Deadpool that had the heavily scarred face. What would have been even funnier if it was just they took off their masks and they all had the same voices like Blake Lively, Matthew McConaughey, but they were all just Ryan Reynolds. Yes, that would have been even funnier. It's just CGI'd Ryan Reynolds' face, and they just had like Blake Lively's mouth coming out. Exactly, voice coming out. No, that would have actually worked, but in this one, that they just kind of turn up, and it's just. It's not really there for any kind of like real substance. It's just there because wouldn't it be cool if there's just a bunch of Deadpools who happen to be other famous people? So that's what I meant by like gratuitous cameos and stuff. But I think like the whole film tends to pivot more towards that kind of fan service rather than just traditional storytelling like some of the better Marvel films tend to do. And I feel like it's on the edge of just being pure fan service the whole way through. Yeah, it's like in terms of like actual story beats, when you compare it to the first Deadpool film, what was the story of the first Deadpool film? He gets kidnapped by the guy named Francis. He gets turned into the sort of the heavily deformed face. So he goes on the hunt for Francis to sort of fix his body. Mm-hmm. The second one, his sort of partner and girlfriend dies, so he has to find new purpose in life, and he finds it through protecting this kid from Cable. This film, what is the story? It's very... his world is about to end because the slime ball from the TVA, Mr. Paradox,
Matthew McFadden,
tells it.
He's pretty fun.
We'll come back to him in a minute. But the entire story is, I've got to find a Logan to replace the dead one. Okay, what happens after that? Nope, that's the story. Okay.
Yeah, the plot is really kind of more than an afterthought in this movie. It's mainly just an excuse just to have Deadpool just go on this multiversal journey without really kind of doing much with it. I mean, they do a lot with it, but at the same time, it doesn't really fit together as like a complete narrative.
Yeah. So, weirdly enough, even though we are saying that's one of the weaknesses of the film, it's a very small weakness because actually it doesn't really need that large of a story.
No.
To sort of complete it, because he finds Logan. Okay, let's just have some time with them hanging out, beating each other up, and just having fun.
Yeah, but I feel, and I think this kind of goes a lot along with what the MCU kind of has become to an extent. It's more like trying to appease towards like nostalgia rather than like traditional storytelling. And I feel like if you look back at like phase 1, 2, 3, there are some great films in there that didn't rely on like nostalgia or even like many Easter eggs in the background or comic references. There are a ton of them
on narrative.
Yeah, they're focused on narrative. They're focused on their own individual characters, and this film in particular, it's arriving slap bang in the middle of the multiverse saga, and they even mention in the film they're joining the MCU at a bit of a low point. And honestly, as much as I hate to say it, that is kind of true. Because, I mean, let's face it, since Endgame, the quality of Marvel films hasn't been quite as high. Like
if you were to rate it on a scale of like 1 to 10, the first 3 phases of the Marvel film, you probably would go 8.5, 8.3, and then 8.6. They're all like solid 8s.
Yeah. But some of them don't work.
Phase 4... 7.2.
Yeah.
Phase 5 so far has probably been a high 6.
Yeah.
And there's been more hits than misses.
There have, yeah, but I mean, like you said, there have been some good ones. I mean, I thought Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was very good.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was very good. Shang-Chi,
yes,
was very good. Spider-Man: No Way Home,
of course.
Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, we even enjoyed the Marvels.
Yeah, I think that's a film that everybody that says is the worst Marvel film. I don't agree with that.
No. I think a lot of that hate comes from, unfortunately, it comes from a very misogynist place. Because I mean, the internet. Some people on the internet just can't handle the fact that women want to save the world too. It's just like, oh my god, just fuck off back to your cesspit of hatred. Honestly, because
I won't comment here and there on misogyny in fan culture. But I think there is a long history of it's the men who are the superheroes and it's the women who stay at home and hope that they come back safe, all the way back from like war movies and other sort of old mythologies that comic books take inspiration from. Mm-hmm. So you get a character like Captain Marvel, where you have this kick-ass female fighter pilot who gains superpowers on par with DC's Superman. Mm-hmm. I think the issue with the Marvels is I think they try to tie it in too much to other Disney Plus shows. They didn't let Captain Marvel stand on her own 2 feet. It was a team up movie between 3 characters, which you had to see 2 other shows to understand what they were about.
Yeah, and the shows on themselves, like I mean, obviously. You had WandaVision first that had
which was entertaining.
Was it Monica Rambeau?
Yeah, Monica Rambeau.
Monica Rambeau showed up in that one, and she's cool. And then you have Kamala Khan in Miss Marvel, who's just a delight.
Absolutely adorable as a person, and she absolutely killed it as Miss Marvel.
I thought. And honestly, they work well together in the Marvels. I I think the problem with the Marvels is just they just tried to tie it in too much to the other. It felt like homework, basically.
It felt like you had to, yeah. You felt like you had a significant amount of homework to go in just to enjoy this film, and then you've only got 90 minutes with these characters. I think there was plenty of capability to expand the story more, give them more time to gel as a three woman unit. I was going to say three man unit, but come on, it's an all female cast, 3-woman unit, and it was an interesting story on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. There is stuff that works about the Marvels, and I don't think it deserved like the absolute hatred it got, which unfortunately was enough to like sink it at the box office. Today, I think it's Marvel's lowest grossing film, and I think that's a real shame.
I think that's definitely a crime. That's for sure.
It is, yeah, because it's just fueled by hatred. That's what it is. But I think the point we're making is the fact that you had to know so much about the Disney Plus shows, in addition to like all the stuff in the films, and then tying it all together in this one as well. I think it's just. Marvel has just kind of reached a point where it's just become a bit too complicated for a lot of people. Like it feels like homework to a lot of people. Like they not the majority of viewers don't necessarily want to know may not even know everything about Marvel. They just want to go along and enjoy a film and don't want to necessarily have to worry about everything that came before or after. And I feel like stuff like the Marvels and kind of a lot of Quantumania as well definitely felt like you had to know specific things from other movies, and I think that's kind of what sunk them a lot in the minds of critics and audiences.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You mentioned Quantumania. I think we both agree that's in the bottom 5 Marvel films.
It's not a very good movie. I think my biggest problem with Quantumania, I don't outright hate the film, as I know a lot of other people do. I feel that it's okay. It just completely fails as an Ant-Man movie, because we were talking about this before we started recording. Like Ant-Man has always just been a character who's just kind of like on the grounded level of Marvel heroes, which is saying something, because this is a hero
because he shrinks
and grows big. Yeah, so that's far from grounded. But he's the guy who just kind of is a bit of an everyman, and then placing him on this much more cosmic journey and just dealing with very high stakes, like the whole thing with Kang the Conqueror. It was just I don't think it was the right decision. I feel like
I think, and I mentioned this to you before we started recording, Quantumania would have worked better if it was a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
Not an Ant-Man movie. And ironically, I think the best part of Quantumania was its villain, was Kang the Conqueror. But a lot of people have sort of dismissed him as like the next big bad because he got beaten by Ant-Man. Which I think is a shame, because Ant-Man is in his own right a pretty strong superhero. The fact he can sort of shrink and sort of
he's cool. He's a cool hero.
He's a cool hero, and I think it would have probably done better in people's minds if Ant-Man didn't have as clean a win as he appeared to have done in Quantumania.
Yeah, if there were actual consequences to that film, like maybe he didn't defeat Kang, maybe he just kind of subdued him for a little bit, or even if he got trapped in the quantum realm or something. Yeah. But it just kind of like it was too neat an ending for that film. I mean, yeah, they set up like the Council of Kangs in the mid-credit scene.
Yeah, that's gonna go far places, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just yeah, no, that was kind of a shame, really.
Yeah. All the drama around Jonathan Majors. I mean, we're not here to comment on whether he did what he did. Was it right that he got convicted for domestic abuse and
I think the evidence pretty much says he did that shit.
Yeah, the evidence is the evidence, but we're not here to fully weigh in on that. Ultimately, he got fired. They've since decided not to recast Kang and then bring in a brand new character.
Which is surprising, because I mean, if there's one person who could be so easily recast, it is Kang the Conqueror. Yeah. I mean, like, it's the same guy, same actor, like with different faces and stuff. But I mean, you could still get away with it.
Hand it away by saying, they were all just one type of variant. There was actually a second council of Kangs played by this new actor who cover the same role.
And they all just happen to look like, off the top of my head, Colman Domingo. Who,
Yeah.
honestly, if they did recast Kang, Colman Domingo would have rocked it because he's a very charismatic actor, and I think he would have nailed that role. But it wasn't meant to be. And,
so, what brand new character have they brought back for the next Avengers film as the next big bad?
well, it's a bit of a double-edged sword in the minds of many because, I mean, we're recording this shortly after the big Comic-Con announcement that it's all going to be Doctor Doom from now on. Like, Doctor Doom is going to be the next big bad for the Avengers.
And on the plus side, this isn't like the Doctor Doom that we've seen in the Fantastic Four movies of old.
No,
This is
like
supposed to be the actual proper representation of.
Yeah, he's not
as a
he's
villain.
not just an easily defeatable Fantastic Four villain. No, this is like the Doctor Doom that has become renowned for one of the greatest comic book villains of all time.
Yeah.
But, the fact that they announced that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doom in, like, Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars.
To quote a very popular Marvel film, you could not live with your failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
It very much feels like that. I feel like there's been a lot of fan backlash since that casting announcement. Like, it feels like, oh my god, Marvel's so desperate. They're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. just to play this new character rather than just casting someone else. I feel like let him cook is what I'd say first and foremost. I mean, the casting is weird, sure, but let's see where they go with this. It might turn out to be the best decision that they've made in a long time. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of interested because Robert Downey Jr. just won an Oscar for playing a villain in Oppenheimer, and he's fantastic. It's one of his best performances, I think. So if he can bring that energy that he brought to Louis Strauss to Doctor Doom, I think we could be onto a winner here, but I do acknowledge the fact that a lot of people are not happy with this casting and they'd rather it be someone else. Like, ironically enough, Oppenheimer himself, Cillian Murphy, was a hugely popular fan cast. But again, I think the casting of Robert Downey Jr. again is kind of it kind of parallels what a lot of people feel Marvel to be nowadays, which is just to kind of like rely more on nostalgia than actually telling a decent story.
Yeah, well, there's some solace in the fact that it's the Russo brothers are directing the next Avengers films.
Yeah.
So they've got a very positive track record on the previous on Captain America 2 and 3 and Avengers Infinity War and Endgame.
Funnily enough, it's all the stuff they've done around that's kind of caused people to go off them a little bit. Like, The Fall Guy was a massive flop on Netflix, despite spending like $200 million on the film that nobody even remembers.
Yeah.
And then...
that was probably their Fall Guy film.
Yeah, probably. And then... what was it? One of them came out and has just been like really pro AI all of a sudden, and that's got a lot of people really riled up because like AI, I don't think should really have a role in forming storytelling. That should be left to the creatives.
There's things that I think AI works as a check. It should not be used as a main source of creating a story. If you want to see a movie that was probably written by AI, go and see Madam Web.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll say no more on that.
Yeah. Less said about that, the better. But I think it's interesting. I've noticed that a lot of this kind of like disdain towards Marvel in the years since Endgame, I feel a lot of that comes down to, when Martin Scorsese made that comment, that Marvel films are just like theme park attractions and they're not like quote unquote what cinema should be. And I feel like a lot of people kind of took that as like the boy telling the emperor he has no clothes, and so it just kind of like snapped them out of a spell in a sense. And it's just like, oh wait, this is actually kind of trash. And it's just like, I disagree on that. I think like, look, any Marvel film, even the best ones, they're never going to be as grand and grand in quality as stuff that Martin Scorsese has made. But at the same time, to declare them not cinema and more like just theme park rides. I think it's kind of detrimental.
Yeah, it does a huge disservice to what the Marvel films are. The Marvel films are essentially they are summer blockbusters. They are movies to get everyone into the cinema.
Yeah, and to be honest, without Marvel movies, I think the cinemas would be a dead business by now.
Yeah, we would have been 100% streaming on Netflix.
Exactly. So I mean, there's some. I think a lot of it honestly just comes down to snobbery. Like, I mean, yeah, like Marvel isn't necessarily like high art. It's not. It's not like a massive new Alejandro Jodorowsky film or like films by Denis Villeneuve or Francis Ford Coppola,
or Quentin Tarantino.
Or Quentin Tarantino. I mean, I will say, to be fair, there isn't really a lot of room, it seems, for like auteur filmmaking in the Marvel universe because it's all driven by a predetermined plot by like Kevin Feige and all the creatives there. So there's not really any room, I feel, for like main auteurs to come in and just drop their vision. And I think we saw a little bit of that with Chloe Zhao when she made Eternals. Like I think it was made just before or after Nomadland.
Yeah,
and
I think it came out after Nomadland won the Oscar, and they were like, right, we should get her in to do a film like The Eternals, which is supposed to be this great mythic story.
Well, I think Eternals was filmed before Nomadland. I think it was originally Eternals was originally supposed to come out in 2020, but then 2020 happened. So
yes, that's true.
So Nomadland kind of came first and went on to win the Oscar and everything. But I think, but obviously Chloe Zhao is a hugely respected filmmaker in her own right. I mean, she'd done a bunch of other films before Nomadland that were very well received, obviously established a vision. And to an extent, Eternals does show that vision. It is a very grand looking film. I'd say out of the recent Marvel films, it's one of the best looking. It's absolutely stunning to look at in times.
I think we were discussing our sort of views of I think you said it yourself. Marvel don't really create a boring film. Like Martin Scorsese said, it might not be the great, or it might not be the great artistic feats that an auteur created.
Yeah,
but
there
are very few boring Marvel films.
Yeah, I'd say, like, I mean, it's the same with any Star Wars film or James Bond film or any franchise film in particular. I'd say the worst thing that any of them can be is boring.
Yeah.
And I find very few Marvel films to be boring. I find very few Star Wars films to be boring. Hell, I'll even go on record in saying Rise of Skywalker is not the worst Star Wars film out there. Because
what would you rate as the worst Star Wars film?
Personally, I'd say Attack of the Clones. Because
no, I'd give you that.
I mean, for a lot of reasons. Anyway, we don't want to get into that here.
That's Star Wars. This is Marvel.
But point is, I find as long as I'm having fun with it, as long as I'm entertained, as long as there's something really kind of gripping me, even in the worst ones, then like I can at the very least give it like a okay review. Whereas, you know, if I'm not really entertained by it, if I feel like there's more stuff about it that doesn't work rather than does, then I think we've got more of a problem. And honestly, I feel Quantumania definitely falls into that category. I feel For the Dark World falls into that category for me, and to an extent only because I felt like the character work wasn't very strong. I felt Eternals was as well.
Yeah, I never saw Eternals in cinema. I saw it at home. Watching it at home, I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good film.
I respect what they were trying to do with it.
But I think it's one of those that it looks stunning, but it looks too stunning. It's the background. It becomes a point where the background is the character, and the actual characters are like the window dressing.
Yeah, it's saying something when the scenery is more interesting than the characters.
Yeah. And there were some interesting characters in Eternals. It was just the fact that the backgrounds were too spectacular.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that kind of criticism kind of extends to Deadpool and Wolverine as well. I mean, there are critics currently who are labeling the fact that it is such a huge success right now at the box office. Like, as of recording this, I think it's just become like the biggest R-rated film in America. It's just surpassed Passion of the Christ, which I think was the previous one. And they're calling that success, the fact that audiences are going to see this film, they're calling it depressing. Because in their minds, it's nothing more than just pure nostalgia bait, fan servicey kind of thing. That's not what, in their eyes, filmic storytelling should be. And I feel like, to an extent, I kind of see where they're coming from. I would never call something like Deadpool's success depressing because,
for starters, it's a comedy.
Yes,
You're never going to be depressed watching a comedy unless
this is very true. I think by depressing, I think like it's like just too cynical. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Honestly, I feel like that kind of labeling is kind of like it's kind of audience bashing in a sense. Like, I mean,
how dare you go out and see a film that you're interested in going to see?
How dare you enjoy something made for the masses? I mean, like, is there a rule that you're saying that you can't enjoy certain films, but you have to enjoy certain others? Like, no, absolutely not. I feel like everyone is completely entitled to like whatever the hell they like.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing a lot of these critics are forgetting is that the original Deadpool film was very much made because the fans wanted it.
Yeah.
Because the original executives at 20th Century Fox weren't going to put the money in to make the first Deadpool film.
No.
And then you had the test footage that leaked online, and within 24 hours of the positive reaction to that test footage, the movie got greenlit.
Yeah, and the rest is history.
So you could argue this has always been a movie series that has been made for the fans.
Yeah.
Always has been.
And that kind of phrase gets thrown around a lot, especially when, a movie doesn't turn out to be particularly well received by critics. The filmmakers go and say, like, oh, we just made it for the fans, I mean, they're the ones that really matter. But at the same time, I feel that's kind of like a bit of something soft to land on in terms of like, oh, we didn't make an especially great film, but it's the fans that kind of
you
matter.
shouldn't hand wave it away saying, oh, we didn't put in that much effort, because it's made for the fans, so they already know this character. And Deadpool certainly has put in the effort.
Yeah, maximum effort, if you will.
Yes, that is his entire catchphrase, maximum effort.
Hell, it's Ryan Reynolds' production company name.
Yeah, and because his name has become synonymous with Deadpool. It's his brand now.
Absolutely, and so I think bottom line is I don't think it should really matter what critics say about certain things. I mean, obviously everyone seems to be enjoying this film. I mean, it's already proving a huge success. I mean, it's made like $500 million already at the worldwide box office, and that number's just going to probably keep going up after this podcast episode gets released.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
And audience scores are pretty good. I think it's like a on Cinema Score, which often you don't really consider that much, because I've heard someone say that Cinema Score is like the Electoral College of film review websites.
Oh my god! Okay,
but
I think the one I pay attention to isn't so much if you go on a website like Rotten Tomatoes. It's not so much the critic score; it's the audience score.
Yeah, but sometimes that can be manipulated as well. Like when look at the score for Captain Marvel, for instance.
That got
review bombed like crazy.
Yeah, that audience score was much lower than it should have been.
Yeah, misogynist gonna misogynist.
Yeah,
misogynist gonna misogynist.
Woman hater gonna woman hate. But Deadpool Wolverine, the critic score is high 70s, low 80s at the moment. I personally think that's too low.
I'd
put it in the high 80s.
I can see why some critics aren't too into this movie. I can get that, but I mean, just speaking for us, it's obviously clear that we both enjoyed this film. I mean, we'd certainly go see it again. Hell, this was my third time seeing it today with you.
Yeah, and I genuinely would probably take a group of my friends to go see this film again.
Yeah, it's just a fun film.
I think it's that sentiment alone should show that it's a film worth going to see.
Absolutely. I think that, you just want something to just go along, just have a good time, not have to think too much about it. I mean, there are films like that which are perfectly fine to enjoy the mindlessness of it all, but it's just when that mindlessness becomes too, I don't know, how would you say it, too prominent, I guess?
Yeah, where the mindlessness of a movie actually takes away from the enjoyment of the film.
Yeah, now I'd say that it's a very fun film to check out. I mean, if you're certainly nostalgic for past Marvel films, particularly the ones under the 20th Century Fox band, And even some other ones as well. Obviously, the Blade was New Line Cinema,
Yeah.
and I think other Marvel films like made beyond. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if in future movies we saw like cameos from that unreleased Fantastic Four movie. You know, the one that was like produced by Roger Corman. May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that was never
that,
released.
that would be a surprise.
Yeah, the one that was never released is still, as of now, the best one. I mean, I'm a bit biased because I think the Fantastic Four are some of my personal favourite Marvel heroes, and I'm very excited to see what they come up with in this new film. Because
Yeah, what Fantastic Four, they're calling it First Steps, aren't they?
yeah. So it's just going to be Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and oh god, I can't remember the other guy. The guy from The Bear. He's going to be the Thing.
Yeah, so that'll be good.
Ibon Moss. I don't know. Forgive me if I'm butchering that name, by the way. And I'm sure there's a way to say it, so don't kill me.
No, right.
But anyway, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with that. I've seen like the test footage they showed at Comic-Con, and it honestly looks quite dazzling. If the finished film looks something like that, I think then we'll have a good win on that.
I think I've seen a like concept art of it being a 60s impression of a futuristic New York.
Honestly, I think that's a very clever way to go about it.
That will be spectacular.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And creative as well, because it's not just it's the same New York.
But 60s, yeah.
But 60s. It's okay. It's set in an alternate reality where this is where things split in the 60s, and that's our current future, where we have hover cars and teleportation and all the wacky science ideas that people thought were going to be a thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very clever way of coming back, and obviously having someone like Matt Shackman coming on to direct, and obviously what he did with WandaVision, like really replicate these old eras of sitcoms from the 50s, 60s, 70s onwards.
Yeah,
I think this could be something very special, but that's all speculative. We will find out probably next summer.
Yeah, it comes out next year, doesn't it?
Yeah, interesting. I think it's at the moment it's due to open the same month as James Gunn's Superman. Given that they've just started filming it, I wouldn't be surprised if they shifted that release date to maybe like December or something.
Well, it depends if they want to compete with the new DC cinematic universe.
I think it would be
or if they want to try and keep an even playing field. Okay, you guys can have these few weeks, and we'll take the weeks after.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just going off. This is just predictions, but I would put good money on the fact that they would like move Fantastic Four to like Christmas or something next year rather than the same month. I mean, who knows? Maybe they could Barbenheimer it. You know, like they could just have it.
What would you call it? The Fantastic Superman?
Supermantastic Four.
We're going to copyright that.
Yeah. So, trademark that shit.
Trademark straight away.
The Supermantastic Four.
Supermantastic 4, here we come.
The next Barbenheimer.
Report next morning. Fantastic Four release delayed to December to avoid Supermantastic 4.
Yeah, no, I kind of like. Well, and who knows? They might not do that, which I can see that there. But it's a man can dream, though. A man can dream.
Yes, a Supermantastic 4 can dream.
A Supermantastic 4 can dream. I think that's a very good place to bring this to a close, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it depends. I can't think of any other comments to add about
the
movie.
I think we've said pretty much everything we need to say about, just this film, what we liked, what we didn't, and the whole MCU status as a whole. I think, well, sorry if it's been a bit more nerdy than usual, then do apologise. But
to absolutely no one.
To absolutely no one. But obviously, this is something we're both very passionate about. We have a tradition going where every single Marvel movie that comes out, we do make some time at some point to go and see together.
Yeah, absolutely. We try and see every Marvel movie, at least the ones we definitely want to go and see.
Yeah, and I think this is just because obviously we've been best friends for like almost 20 years.
20 years in September. September.
Yeah, yeah. So we literally, like, first day of secondary school, we came across each other and just like, want to be friends? Sure.
Sure, let's nerd out.
And that's it. And then, yeah, it's been like that ever since. So, I mean, and one of the reasons I wanted you to be on this podcast with me, because obviously Deadpool and Wolverine, in a sense, they're kind of like BFFs in a sort of twisted way. Yeah. And obviously I thought it'd be kind of fun to bring my own BFF into the mix, just to kind of see how that kind of dynamic differs or is the same or something. So in that sense, hopefully you had a good time.
Yeah, I had a great time. Thanks for paying for the tickets.
Well, it was my pleasure. I'm flat broke now, so thanks to this man. But you know what? It's worth it to stay alive. From after all, this is not the first time I've broken into your place to record a podcast. So
thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, no, I really escaped death on that one. So thanks for sparing me. Well, he's staring daggers at me now, so I think we're going to wrap this up now. Thank you guys very much for listening to this nice little extended podcast. Now, Matt, you're not on any socials or anything, so there's nothing for you to really plug.
No. Watch Jack's podcast.
Yeah, watch me or listen to me. I'm on, obviously, hopefully you're listening on Apple or Spotify or one of the big podcast platforms, or even on YouTube right now. Maybe you're watching me right now, so hello if you are. But this has been really cool. Looking forward to doing more podcast episodes soon. I kind of enjoy this kind of format where it's just us talking in front of each other. I feel it's a bit more natural, like it's not as awkward where it's like I'm on the Zoom call and the other person's on the other end. I mean, I enjoy the guests I have a lot, but it's something nice about just doing it in person that I would like to do a lot more of in the future. So
absolutely.
And obviously hope to have you back as well for another one. Maybe I can break.
You're going to break into my house again.
I make no promises. I would, either way, it'd be just good to have you back on. And
well, let's see what happens.
Let's see if I'm up for any more breaking and entering. So, I think that's about it. And don't forget to check out all the links in the description for the Film Feeder website and all the socials and stuff. You'll probably see all that again in a second with the ending title card. But yeah, for now, I'm Jack Martin, your film chef extraordinaire.
I'm your movie maitre d', Matt.
Yeah, and I guess I'll see you next time. Bye.
Right, now get out my house.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Alright, bye.
Hey, you've made it to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for sticking around. Please like and subscribe on whichever platform you may be listening on. Make sure that you're following Film Feeder on all our social media channels, the links and handles to which are all listed in the episode description. And do consider supporting Film Feeder either on our Patreon or Ko-fi pages, the links to which are also in the description, where even the smallest donation, either monthly or as a one-off, will be an enormous contribution towards helping a hard-working creative like myself. Finally, don't forget to visit the Film Feeder website at filmfeeder.co.uk, where I post regular written reviews and weekly movie menus that round up all the latest movies coming to cinemas, streaming and on demand here in the UK. Until next time, I'm Jack Martin, your film chef extraordinaire, whetting your appetite for film each and every month. Bye for now.